Hi, I'm Elena. I drove 9 hours through a snowstorm with a custom cake balanced in my lap and hope flooding my chest to surprise my sister at her engagement party. But when I walked through those grand doors, she didn't just look shocked, she screamed, not with joy, but with horror, like I was a ghost she'd successfully buried. Everyone turned to stare champagne glasses frozen mid-sip as she shrieked, "What are you doing here? You weren't supposed to come." So what do you do when the family you've sacrificed everything for finally shows their true face in front of 100 witnesses? Stick around because that scream was just the beginning of everything unraveling. Comment below if you've ever been treated like an intruder in your own family. And don't forget to subscribe for what happened next. The windshield wipers fought a losing battle against the snow as I navigated the final stretch of highway. 9 hours. That's how long I'd been driving through what the weather reports called the worst storm of the decade. My back ached. My eyes burned from squinting through the white blur, but the three-tier strawberry champagne cake sitting carefully secured in the passenger seat made it all worth it. Sophia was getting engaged. My little sister, the one I'd taught to ride a bike, the one who used to crawl into my bed during thunderstorms. She hadn't told me about the party directly. I'd heard through our cousin Marcus. But that was Sophia always forgetting the details when life got exciting. I'd ordered the cake 2 weeks ago, her favorite flavor combination from when we were kids. The bakery had outdone themselves with delicate sugar roses and pearl dust that caught the light like fresh snow. I pulled into the circular driveway of the Grand View estate just after 8, my modest Honda looking desperately out of place among the luxury vehicles already lined up like expensive dominoes. The valet who approached wore a better coat than I owned. "Are you with the catering staff?" he asked, eyeing my car with polite confusion. I laughed, too tired to be offended. "No, I'm family. Elena Moreau, Sophia's sister." He blinked, checked his list twice, then shrugged. "I'll park it in the back." The estate was a vision. Golden lights wound through bare winter trees, creating a fairy tale glow against the falling snow. Through the tall windows, I could see the party already in full swing. Women in designer gowns, men in tailored suits, champagne flowing like water. I smoothed down my dress, the nicest one I owned, bought 3 years ago for a work function, and carefully lifted the cake box. The warmth hit me first as I entered, then the scent of roses and expensive perfume. A string quartet played something classical in the corner. Everything was perfect, magazine-worthy, exactly the kind of party Sophia had always dreamed about. I spotted her across the room first. She was radiant in a blush-colored gown that probably cost more than my monthly rent, her dark hair swept up in an elaborate style, diamonds glittering at her throat. She was laughing at something one of her bridesmaids said, head thrown back in that carefree way she had. Then she saw me. The laugh died instantly. Her face went through a series of expressions so fast I could barely track them. Surprise, confusion, then something that looked horribly like panic. And then she screamed. Not a happy scream. Not an, "Oh my God, you made it," scream. This was sharp, horrified, like I'd walked in covered in blood instead of snow. "What are you doing here?" Her voice carried across the suddenly silent room. "You weren't supposed to come." Every head turned. The quartet stopped mid-note. I stood there, cake in hand, melting snow dripping from my coat onto the marble floor. I wanted to surprise you." I managed my voice, sounding thin and strange in the vast space. "For your engagement." Sophia's hands clenched at her sides. Behind her, I saw our mother emerge from a cluster of guests, her face tight with an expression I knew too well, embarrassment mixed with fury. "This is a private event." Sophia said, her voice lower now but somehow worse. "Family and close friends only." The words hit like physical blows. I was family. I was her sister. I drove 9 hours. I said stupidly, as if that explained everything, as if that could make her remember who we used to be to each other. Our mother reached us then, her smile bright and false as she gripped my elbow. Elena, darling, you look exhausted. Why don't we get you sorted in the coat room? Her fingers dug in hard enough to bruise. We can discuss this privately. But Sophia wasn't done. Maybe it was the champagne, maybe it was the audience, maybe it was years of something I hadn't seen building. You always do this, she said loud enough for everyone to hear. You always have to make everything about you. This is my night, Elena. Mine. I looked at the cake in my hands, the one I'd protected through 9 hours of hellish driving conditions. The sugar roses were still perfect, the pearl dust still gleaming. I just wanted to celebrate with you, I whispered. Well, I don't want you here. The words came out clear, decisive. I didn't invite you for a reason. The room felt like it was spinning. Faces blurred together, strangers and distant relatives all witnessing my humiliation. Someone whispered. Someone else pulled out a phone. Sophia. I started, but she'd already turned away, linking arms with one of her bridesmaids. Security, she called over her shoulder. Please escort my sister out. She's confused about the guest list. My mother's grip on my elbow tightened. Come on, she hissed. Don't make this worse. I let her guide me away, still clutching the cake box like a life preserver. Behind us, I heard the quartet tentatively restart, heard conversation slowly resume, heard Sophia's bright laugh ring out as if nothing had happened. In the coat room, my mother finally released me. What were you thinking? She demanded. Showing up uninvited, dressed like that, trying to upstage your sister. Marcus told me about the party, I said numbly. You thought wrong. She straightened her pearl necklace with sharp, angry movements. Sophia specifically didn't want you here. She knew you'd find some way to make it about yourself, and look, you proved her right. I brought a cake. I said, the words sounding pathetic even to me. Her favorite. My mother's laugh was bitter. Oh, Elena. Still trying to buy your way into affection. Some things never change. She glanced at her watch. There's a hotel 5 miles down the road. I suggest you book a room and leave in the morning. Don't come back here. She left me standing there among the fur coats and designer wraps, holding a cake no one wanted from a sister who'd apparently been done with me long before tonight. I set the cake carefully on a side table, my hands shaking. Through the door, I could hear the party continuing, laughter, music, the clink of glasses. A world I'd never really belonged to, even when I'd fooled myself into thinking I did. 10 minutes later, I was back in my car, the valet avoiding eye contact as he handed over my keys. As I pulled away, I caught one last glimpse through the windows, Sophia at the center of everything, glowing and loved, and completely unbothered by what had just happened. The snow kept falling, and I drove into it, leaving the fairy lights and warmth behind. The empty passenger seat seemed to mock me. 9 hours there, 9 hours back, 18 hours of driving for 2 minutes of humiliation. But the worst part, the absolute worst part, was that I'd seen it in her eyes when she screamed. She hadn't been surprised to see me. She'd been afraid. Afraid I'd ruin her perfect night. Afraid I'd expose something, afraid I'd remind people that she had a sister who didn't fit the image. She'd known I might come. And she'd prepared for it. The hotel room smelled like industrial cleaner and old carpets. I sat on the edge of the bed, still in my dress, still wearing the shoes that had walked me into my own execution. The cake sat on the dresser where I'd placed it, pristine in its box, a monument to my stupidity. My phone buzzed relentlessly. I'd turned off the ringer, but the vibrations against the nightstand sounded like angry wasps. 17 missed calls, 43 text messages. I didn't need to read them to know what they said. Instead, I stared at the water stains on the ceiling and let the memories unspool like thread from a sweater that was finally coming apart. The time Sophia needed new dance costumes for her recital, the ones our parents said were too expensive. I'd picked up extra shifts at the coffee shop, told her the studio had a payment plan. The summer her car broke down and she needed it fixed before starting her internship. I'd emptied my savings, listened to her promise she'd pay me back when she got her first real paycheck. That was 3 years ago. The holidays I'd spent cooking elaborate meals while she entertained, playing the perfect hostess with recipes I'd tested and perfected, taking credit for dishes she couldn't even name the ingredients for. Every birthday gift that went unacknowledged. Every family photo I was cropped out of for her Instagram. Every time she'd introduced me as my sister who works in admin, like my job at the nonprofit was something shameful. I pulled out my laptop, fingers moving with sudden clear purpose. The hotel's Wi-Fi was slow, but it was enough. First, the utilities. The family plan phone bill I'd been paying for 5 years because it was easier to keep everyone together. Canceled. The streaming services I'd maintained because Mom liked her shows, and Sophia needed access for her movie nights. Gone. The cloud storage where we kept family photos, the ones I was actually in, were few and far between anyway. Terminated. Next, the credit card. The authorized user status I'd given Sophia during college, for emergencies only. I stared at the recent transactions, designers, shoes, restaurant bills, a spa day last week. All while I'd been saving for months to afford a decent dress for her engagement party. Removed. The automatic transfers I'd set up to help with Mom's household expenses money that somehow always coincided with Sophia's shopping trips. Stopped. The car insurance policy where I'd kept Sophia as a driver because it saved her money, my money, canceled. Each click felt like cutting a rope that had been slowly strangling me. I'd been so focused on being the good daughter, the reliable sister, that I'd never noticed I'd become nothing more than a convenience. My phone buzzed again. This time I looked. Mom. What did you do to the phone plan? Fix it immediately. Sophia. Are you seriously this petty? Grow up? Mom. The Netflix isn't working. Stop being childish. Sophia. My card got declined. You're embarrassing me in front of Blake's family. Mom. Elena. This behavior is exactly why we didn't want you there tonight. I turned the phone off completely and set it in the drawer. The snow had stopped falling outside, leaving everything covered in a deceptive blanket of pure white. But I knew better now. Pretty surfaces could hide all kinds of rot. I pulled the cake box onto my lap and opened it for the first time since leaving the bakery. It really was beautiful, 3 tiers of delicate pink cake, with champagne buttercream sugar roses so realistic they looked fresh-picked pearl dust catching the harsh hotel lighting. The topper was especially lovely, 2 interlocking hearts made of spun sugar. I picked up the plastic fork from the coffee station and took a bite directly from the bottom tier. Then another. And another. It tasted like sweetness and stupidity, like hope and humiliation. I ate until my stomach hurt, until the perfect facade was destroyed, until it looked as ruined as I felt. Then I took a picture of the wreckage and posted it to Instagram with a simple caption. Sometimes you drive 9 hours to learn a 9-second lesson. Some tables aren't worth sitting at no matter how long you've been setting them. I tagged no one. I named no one. But I knew they'd see it. Within minutes, the likes started pouring in from acquaintances, from coworkers, from people who'd watched my family's public performance for years and seen the cracks I'd tried so hard to hide. I turned the phone back off and ran a bath in the questionable hotel tub. As I sank into the too hot water, still tasting champagne buttercream and betrayal, I realized something had shifted. The guilt I'd expected to feel, that crushing weight that usually followed any act of self-preservation, never came. In its place was something harder, cleaner. They'd made it clear tonight I wasn't family. I was staff they didn't have to pay. Well, consider this my resignation. The bathwater cooled and I let it sinking deeper until only my nose stayed above the surface. Tomorrow I'd drive home. Tomorrow I'd figure out what came next. But tonight, in this shabby hotel room with its water-stained ceiling and thin walls, I was done pretending that love was supposed to hurt this much. 3 days. That's how long it took for them to notice the full extent of what I'd done. The first day, they were angry about inconveniences, the phone plan, the streaming services, minor irritations in their privileged lives. The second day, the real panic started. Sophia discovered her credit card was declined at Nordstrom. Mom realized the automatic transfer hadn't hit her account. By the third day, my phone was a battlefield of missed calls and increasingly frantic messages. I sat in my apartment watching it all unfold from a careful distance. I'd taken a sick day from work not because I was ill, but because I needed space to breathe, to think, to resist the decades-old urge to fix everything. My cousin Marcus was the first to reach out with something other than demands. Marcus heard about the party. That was fucked up. You okay? I stared at his message for a long time before responding. Me. Define okay. Marcus fair. Want company, I have whiskey and righteous anger. An hour later, he was at my door with a bottle of Jameson and a pizza. We sat on my couch, the one I'd bought secondhand because I'd been saving for Sophia's wedding gift, and he let me talk. She screamed, I said for the 10th time, still trying to process it. Like I was something horrible. Like I was dangerous. Marcus took a long pull from his glass. You know what's dangerous? The way they've been bleeding you dry for years. I just wanted to matter, he finished. I know. We all saw it, Elena. The way you bent over backwards, the way they took and took and took. Nobody knew how to say anything. But you all saw it. He nodded, looking guilty. At Christmas, when you gave everyone those expensive gifts and got a candle in return. At Mom's birthday, when you organized everything and Sophia took credit. We saw it. And nobody said anything. What were we supposed to say? Hey, Elena, your mom and sister treat you like an ATM with feelings. You wouldn't have listened. He was right. I would have defended them, made excuses, found ways to blame myself. I'd been well trained. My phone buzzed. Another voicemail from my mother. Against my better judgment, I played it on speaker. Elena, this is ridiculous. You've made your point. Now fix the accounts and stop this tantrum. You're hurting your family. Is that what you want to hurt us? After everything we've done for you? Marcus snorted. Everything they've done for you. Like what allow you to exist? I deleted the message. The next one was from Sophia, her voice tight with rage. I know you think you're punishing us, but you're just showing everyone who you really are. Bitter, jealous, pathetic. Blake's parents think there's something wrong with our family now. You've ruined everything just like you always do. Sounds like Blake's parents have good instincts, Marcus muttered. The messages kept coming, each one more manipulative than the last. Their strategy was clear cycle through anger, guilt, threats, and occasional false sweetness, hoping something would stick. Mom, your sister is crying. Is that what you wanted, Sophia? I'll sue you for the money you owe me. Mom, we're still family. Elena, family forgives. Sophia, you're not invited to the wedding. Not that you were going to be anyway. Mom, your father would be ashamed of you. That last one almost got me. Dad had died when I was 22, and they knew invoking his memory was a nuclear option. But then I remembered something. Dad was the one who'd pulled me aside at my college graduation and said, "Don't let them dim your light, baby girl. You shine plenty bright on your own." Maybe he'd seen it even then. As the sun set on the third day, I made a decision. I pulled out my laptop and started typing. To my family, I drove 9 hours through a blizzard to celebrate with you. I've driven countless miles over the years to birthdays, holidays, emergencies, celebrations. I've driven myself into debt trying to help. I've driven myself to exhaustion trying to be enough. Your response told me everything I needed to know. I'm not cutting you off out of spite. I'm stopping the bleeding out of self-preservation. I wish you well, but I wish myself better. Elena, I sent it to both of them, then blocked their numbers. The silence that followed wasn't peaceful. It was the kind of quiet that comes after an explosion when your ears are still ringing and the dust hasn't settled. But for the first time in my adult life, I wasn't rushing to clean up the debris. Marcus raised his glass. To Elena Moreau, who finally learned that no is a complete sentence. I clinked my glass against his, and we drank to the death of who I used to be. She'd been a good person, maybe too good. She deserved better than she'd allowed herself to accept. Now it was time to see who I could become without the weight of their expectations crushing me into a shape that fit their needs. The pizza grew cold, the whiskey bottle emptied, and outside my window the city lights twinkled like stars I was finally allowed to wish on. The character assassination began on a Tuesday. I should have expected it. When you cut off a parasite, it doesn't go quietly. It thrashes bites and tries to convince everyone that you're the one drinking the blood. It started small. Sophia posted a series of Instagram stories artfully crafted to paint a picture without saying my name. A black screen with white text, "When family betrays you on what should be the happiest time of your life." A photo of her tear-stained face. Some people can't stand to see others happy. A screenshot of a Bible verse about forgiveness, praying for those who choose hate over love. And she. Within hours, the extended family group chat, the one I'd removed myself from, was apparently ablaze. I knew because Marcus screenshotted everything and sent it to me with running commentary. Aunt Patricia. What happened with Elena Sophia's posts are concerning. Mom. Elena has been struggling with mental health issues. We tried to help, but she lashed out at the engagement party. Made a scene? Uncle Robert. That doesn't sound like Elena. Sophia. She showed up uninvited, dressed inappropriately, and tried to ruin my moment. When we asked her to leave quietly, she became vindictive. Cousin Lisa. But didn't she drive through that awful storm, Mom, against our wishes? We told her not to come. She's always been jealous of Sophia's success. Marcus sent a string of eye-roll emojis. Then, they're rewriting history in real time. It's almost impressive. But they weren't done. The next day, I woke up to find I'd been tagged in a Facebook post by my mother. It was a long, rambling piece about the challenges of raising a difficult child and how some people reject love and choose bitterness. She managed to paint herself as a long-suffering mother who'd done everything possible to include me while strongly implying I had unnamed mental health issues that made me unstable. The comments were a mix of sympathy for her and subtle digs at me. People who hadn't spoken to me in years suddenly had opinions about my character. Always knew something was off about her. Jealousy is such an ugly emotion. Poor Sophia to have her special moment ruined like that. I sat at my kitchen table, coffee growing cold, watching my reputation get filleted in real time. Part of me wanted to respond, to scream the truth into the void of social media, but I knew how that would look: desperate, defensive, exactly what they were counting on. Instead, I did something else. I pulled out the folder I'd been keeping for years, not consciously, not maliciously, but the way you keep receipts for tax purposes. Transaction records, text messages, emails. Like the email from Sophia 2 years ago begging me to cover her rent because she'd spent her paycheck on a vacation. "Please don't tell Mom. I'll pay you back, I swear." Or the text from my mother last Christmas: "Can you send extra this month? Sophia's having a hard time, and we want to help her out." The Venmo history showing thousands of dollars transferred for emergencies that coincidentally aligned with shopping sprees and vacation photos. The screenshot Sophia had sent me herself, bragging about a $400 dinner Blake had taken her to, dated 3 days after she'd cried poverty and begged for grocery money. I wasn't going to post these. Not yet. But I saved them all to a cloud folder titled Truth, just in case. The smear campaign escalated on Thursday. Someone I suspected Sophia, though she'd never admit it, sent an anonymous message to my workplace's HR department. They claimed I was unstable and had a history of harassment. Fortunately, my boss knew me well enough to show me the email and ask what was going on. Family drama, I said simply. I'm handling it. She nodded, filed the email away, and told me to let her know if I needed anything. The relief was overwhelming. At least one part of my life wasn't infected by their poison. But they kept pushing. Sophia started a WhatsApp group for the engagement party guests, sharing concerns about my erratic behavior. Someone forwarded it to Marcus, who forwarded it to me. Sophia, I hate to do this, but I need to warn everyone. My sister has been unstable lately. She crashed my party, caused a scene, and has been harassing our family since. If she reaches out to any of you, please don't engage. We're considering a restraining order. The lies were so smooth, so confident. She'd learned well from our mother. Then came the masterstroke. A public Facebook post from Sophia, complete with professional engagement photos where I'd clearly been cropped out. It breaks my heart to share this, but I need to address the elephant in the room. Yes, there was an incident at my engagement party. My sister, who has struggled with jealousy and mental health issues for years, showed up uninvited and created a disturbance. We've tried to handle this privately as a family, but her recent actions, cutting off our elderly mother financially, spreading lies about our family, and attempting to sabotage my relationship, have forced me to speak out. I'm not sharing this for sympathy, but for safety. If she contacts you with wild stories or requests for money, she's done this before with family members, please be cautious. We're praying she gets the help she needs. To my amazing fiancé, friends, and family who witnessed her behavior and have supported us through this difficult time, thank you. Your love means everything. Family drama, cha, mental health, awareness, cha, stay strong. 300 likes in an hour. 60 comments of support. My phone started buzzing with messages from people I hadn't heard from in years, all variations of "I had no idea" and "Stay strong, thinking of you," that were clearly meant for Sophia, not me. I sat in my apartment watching my character get murdered in real time and felt something unexpected calm. They'd overplayed their hand. In their desperation to control the narrative, they'd revealed exactly who they were. The lie was too big, too elaborate, too cruel. And lies that big always have cracks. I opened my laptop and started writing. Not a response, not a defense, but something else entirely. A simple post. No tags, no drama, just truth. Watching people rewrite history is fascinating. I drove 9 hours through a snowstorm to celebrate my sister's engagement. I brought her favorite cake. I was screamed at, humiliated, and escorted out. I have the receipts, literal and metaphorical. But I'm not interested in a public war. I'm interested in peace. So here's what I know. The truth doesn't need a marketing campaign. It doesn't need elaborate stories or character assassination. It just needs time. To those who've reached out with genuine concern, thank you. To those enjoying the drama, hope it's entertaining. To those spreading lies, may you receive exactly what you deserve. I'm done explaining myself to people who are committed to misunderstanding me. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a life to live. I posted it and immediately logged off. I didn't need to watch the reaction. I'd said what needed to be said. Marcus texted almost immediately. That was fucking perfect. The smear campaign would continue, I knew that. They'd double down, triple down, say whatever they needed to say to save face. But I was done being their audience. Let them perform for strangers. I had better things to do than watch. Truth has a way of seeping through cracks like water finding its level. You can try to contain it, redirect it, build dams against it, but eventually it finds a way out. The first crack appeared, courtesy of Blake's sister Meredith. I'd met her exactly once at a coffee shop 6 months ago, when Sophia had dragged me along to make a good impression. Meredith had seemed sharp, observant, the kind of person who noticed things others missed. Apparently, she'd been noticing things at the engagement party too. She sent me a DM on Instagram at 11 p.m. on a Friday. Hi, Elena. I hope this isn't overstepping, but I was at the party last week. I saw what happened. I also saw the cake you brought. My aunt works at that bakery and mentioned you'd ordered it weeks in advance. I just wanted you to know that not everyone believes the story being told. Take care. I stared at the message for a long time before responding with a simple, thank you. But Meredith wasn't done. The next day, she posted her own story. Integrity is telling the truth even when it's uncomfortable. I was at an event recently where I witnessed something troubling. A woman drove 9 hours through dangerous weather to surprise her sister, only to be publicly humiliated and removed from the venue. Now I'm watching that same woman be slandered online by people who should protect her. I don't know all the details, but I know what I saw. And what I saw doesn't match what's being said. Maybe we should all be a little slower to believe one-sided stories. She didn't tag anyone, didn't name names, but anyone following the drama knew exactly what she meant. The response was immediate. Sophia called her, texted her, tried to do damage control. But Meredith, bless her, screenshotted the messages and sent them to Blake. Sophia, why would you post that? You don't know the whole story. Meredith, I know what I saw. Sophia, she's manipulating you. She's mentally unstable. Meredith, she seemed pretty stable when you screamed at her for existing. Blake apparently started asking questions. Questions Sophia couldn't answer without more lies, and she was running out of room to maneuver. The second crack came from an unexpected source, the bakery. The owner, Mrs. Chen, had seen Sophia's post claiming I'd shown up uninvited with a store-bought cake, trying to upstage the dessert table. She was not pleased. She posted a photo of the order form on the bakery's business page. We love being part of our customers' special moments. This beautiful 3-tier strawberry champagne cake was ordered 2 weeks in advance by a devoted sister for an engagement celebration. It took our decorator 6 hours to complete. The love put into this order was evident. We hope it was enjoyed. Fark custom cakes. Cash made with love. The photo clearly showed my name, the date, and the inscription I'd requested. To Sophia and Blake. Wishing you a lifetime of sweetness. People aren't stupid. They can do math. 2 weeks in advance meant this wasn't some impulsive crash. It was planned, thoughtful, loving. Marcus gleefully forwarded me screenshots as Sophia tried to backtrack. There was a misunderstanding about the cake. That's not the issue. The issue is her behavior. But what behavior? The more she tried to explain, the less sense it made. The third crack was the biggest. One of the catering staff from the party, a college student named Jamie, had taken video of the whole thing. Not maliciously, just documenting what looked like a beautiful event for their portfolio. They'd caught everything, me walking in with the cake. Sophia's scream, the humiliation, the security escort. They sent it to me first, asking permission to post it. I've been following what's happening online, Jamie wrote. This isn't right. You were nothing but polite even when they were horrible to you. People should know the truth. I thought about it for a long time. Posting the video would be nuclear. It would destroy the narrative completely, but it would also escalate everything to a point of no return. Hold on to it, I replied. If things get worse, we'll revisit. But I didn't need to post it. Jamie told a friend who told a friend, and suddenly people who'd been at the party started remembering things differently. Without the video being public, its existence became known. Guests started reaching out to Blake, to his parents, sharing their discomfort with what they'd witnessed. It was cruel. One of Blake's cousins told him. Your fiancée screamed at her sister like she was contagious. It was uncomfortable for everyone. The narrative was crumbling. Mom tried one more desperate play. She called various family members, spinning tales of my long history of mental illness and how they'd tried everything to help me. But she made a crucial error. She called Uncle Robert's wife Diana, who happened to be a therapist. Diana listened patiently, then asked, What specific mental illness does Elena have? Who's her treating physician? What medications is she on? Mom fumbled. Well, she's never sought proper help. We've tried to get her to see someone. So she has no diagnosis, no treatment history. But you're telling people she's mentally ill. The conversation ended quickly after that. Diana called me that evening. Elena, I don't know what's going on with your family, but what your mother is doing is slander. Document everything. And if you need someone to talk to professionally or otherwise, I'm here. By the end of the week, the tide had turned. The comments on Sophia's post shifted. Something about this doesn't add up. Why would she drive 9 hours if she wasn't invited? Has anyone actually seen Elena do anything unstable? This feels like there's another side to the story. Blake postponed the wedding planning. His parents suggested premarital counseling. Sophia's carefully curated image was cracking like cheap plaster. And me, I stayed quiet. I went to work, had dinner with Marcus, started therapy with someone Diana recommended. I didn't fan the flames or pour water on them. I just let the truth do what truth does, find its way to the surface. Late one night, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. I'm sorry. I didn't know. None of us did. She told us you were dangerous, that you'd been stalking her. I feel terrible. This is Jamie from the party. We all do. I didn't respond. Their guilt wasn't my burden to ease. The truth was out there now, spreading like ripples from a stone. And the beautiful thing about truth is that once it's free, you can't stuff it back into its cage. Sophia could scream all she wanted now, but this time people would hear it for what it was, the sound of someone who'd been caught. The certified letter arrived on a Thursday morning requiring my signature. I knew what it was before I opened it. The weight of legal threat has a particular feel to it, heavy with intimidation and desperation. Cease and desist. The letter from a law firm I recognized as Blake's family attorney accused me of defamation, harassment, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. It demanded I remove all social media posts, cease all contact with family members, and pay $50,000 in damages for the irreparable harm caused to Sophia's reputation and engagement. $50,000. More than I made in a year at the nonprofit. I set the letter on my kitchen counter and laughed. Not a happy laugh, but the kind that bubbles up when absurdity reaches its peak. They'd spent years taking my money without question, and now they wanted to use the legal system to take more. Marcus was at my door within an hour of my text, along with Diana and, surprisingly, Meredith. Blake's furious, Meredith said without preamble. His parents made him push for this. They think it'll make everything go away. Diana read through the letter, her therapist's calm cracking slightly. This is intimidation, pure and simple. They're hoping you'll panic and comply. Are you? Marcus asked. I shook my head. I'm done being scared of them. The first thing I did was contact a lawyer, a friend from college who'd gone into family law. Sienna reviewed everything, including my folder of receipts, and actually whistled. Elena, they don't have a case. If anything you do, this is financial abuse, emotional manipulation, and now legal harassment. They've put everything in writing, the texts, emails, social media posts. They've hanged themselves with their own rope. I don't want their money, I said. No, but you want them to stop. A countersuit might be the only thing that does that. We spent the next week building my case. Every receipt, every text, every documented instance of financial exploitation. The numbers were staggering, over $37,000 over 5 years, not including the emotional labor and opportunities I'd missed while catering to their needs. But the real ammunition came from an unexpected source. Remember Jamie, the catering student with the video? They'd been contacted by Sophia's lawyer, threatened with their own lawsuit if they released the footage. Jamie, being young and scared, had complied, but they'd also done something smart. They'd sent copies to 5 friends for safekeeping. One of those friends was a journalism major with a particular interest in stories about power and manipulation. The story broke on a small but respected online publication, The Real Cost of Family: How One Woman's Act of Love Became a Legal Nightmare. It included the full video of the engagement party incident, screenshots of the financial transactions, the cease and desist letter, interviews with party guests who'd witnessed everything, a statement from the bakery about the cake order. The article went viral within hours. Suddenly, Sophia's Instagram was flooded with comments. 50K for bringing a cake. Are you serious? This is what financial abuse looks like. Imagine suing your sister for loving you too much. Blake, run! The law firm tried damage control, claiming the letter was sent in error and they were reviewing the matter. But the damage was done. Blake's parents, mortified by the public attention, withdrew their support for the lawsuit. Blake himself finally grew a spine and confronted Sophia about the years of lies. The video was particularly damning. There was no interpretation needed. Everyone could see Sophia screaming at me, could see my quiet attempt to give her the cake, could see security escorting me out while I clutched a gift I'd driven 9 hours to deliver. But the legal drama wasn't over. Sophia, in a spectacular display of doubling down, hired her own attorney, a cheaper one who specialized in aggressive litigation. This lawyer sent an even more ridiculous letter, now claiming I'd orchestrated a campaign of revenge and demanding $100,000. Sienna's response was a work of art. She filed a countersuit for defamation for the social media posts, claiming I was mentally ill, financial exploitation with full documentation, intentional infliction of emotional distress, legal harassment. She also filed complaints with the Bar Association about both attorneys for filing frivolous lawsuits intended to intimidate. The meeting was set for neutral ground, a conference room at Sienna's firm. I hadn't seen them in person since the party. Mom looked older, more brittle. Sophia had lost weight, her designer clothes hanging loose. Their attorney looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. Blake wasn't there. I learned later he'd ended the engagement the night before. Sienna laid out our case methodically, document by document. The room grew quieter with each receipt, each screenshot, each piece of evidence that painted a picture of systematic financial and emotional abuse. Your clients have two options, Sienna concluded. We can proceed with the countersuit, which, based on the evidence, will likely result in a judgment of at least $40,000 plus damages, or they can sign this agreement. The agreement was simple: drop all legal action immediately, cease all contact with Elena, mutual public retraction of defamatory statements. No further harassment or legal threats. Mom spoke first, her voice thin. Elena, is this really necessary? We're family. No, I said quietly. We're not. You made that clear at the party. Sophia's eyes filled with tears, whether real or performed, I couldn't tell anymore. I lost everything because of you. Blake left. Everyone thinks I'm a monster. You lost everything because of you, I replied. I just stopped hiding it. Their attorney whispered urgently to them. The evidence was overwhelming. The public sentiment was against them. The countersuit would bankrupt them. They signed. As they prepared to leave, Sophia turned at the door. I hope you're happy, she spat. I thought about it for a moment. I'm free, I said. That's enough. The door closed behind them with a quiet click. No dramatic slam, no final scene. Just the end of something that should have ended years ago. Sienna squeezed my shoulder. You okay? Yeah, I said, and meant it. For the first time in a long time, I really am. The legal papers would be filed that afternoon. The financial abuse case would be formally dropped in exchange for their agreement. The war was over, not with a bang, but with signatures on paper. But the best part, I hadn't needed to destroy them. They'd done that themselves, piece by piece, lie by lie, until there was nothing left but the truth they'd tried so hard to bury. And the truth, as it turns out, was more than enough. 6 months later, I stood in my new apartment, sunlight streaming through windows that actually opened in a building where no one knew my family's name. The walls were painted a soft sage green, a color I'd chosen simply because I liked it, not because it would photograph well or match someone else's aesthetic. The engagement party felt like something that had happened to someone else in another lifetime, but its echoes still reached me occasionally like ripples from a stone thrown long ago. Marcus helped me hang the last picture a photo from our road trip to the coast, both of us laughing at something I couldn't remember, hair wild from the ocean wind. It was the only family photo in my apartment, and the only one I needed. "You sure you want to do this?" he asked, meaning the housewarming party I'd planned for that evening. "I'm sure," I said. "It's time." The guest list was small, but intentional. Marcus Diana Meredith, who'd become an unexpected friend, Sienna, my boss, Rachel Jamie, the catering student, and a few colleagues who'd become real friends once I'd stopped keeping everyone at arm's length. No blood relatives except Marcus, no obligations. Just people who'd shown up for me when showing up meant something. By 7, my apartment was full of warmth and laughter. Diana brought wine, Meredith brought flowers, Jamie brought a cake store, bought and perfect in its simplicity. No one mentioned that it was almost exactly 6 months since that other party, that other cake. Some anniversaries don't need acknowledgement. "A toast," Marcus said, eventually raising his glass. "To Elena, who learned that sometimes the best family is the one you choose." "And who finally chose herself," Diana added. We drank, we laughed, we told stories that had nothing to do with drama or pain. Rachel shared terrible dating stories. Jamie talked about culinary school applications. Meredith revealed that she was thinking of leaving corporate law for teaching. "What about you?" Sienna asked me. "What's next?" I'd been thinking about that a lot lately. Without the constant drain of my family's needs, I'd had energy for the first time in years. Energy to think, to dream, to want things for myself. "I'm applying for a promotion," I said, "Director of Development, and I'm starting a support group at work for people dealing with family financial abuse. You'd be surprised how common it is." "Not surprised," Diana said quietly. "Proud, though." As the evening wound down and guests started leaving, Meredith pulled me aside. "I wanted to tell you Blake's doing better. He's in therapy working through everything. He asked me to thank you." "For what?" "For showing him who Sophia really was before he married her. He said the video was horrifying, but it saved his life." I nodded, not sure what to say. I hadn't meant to save anyone but myself. After everyone left, I stood in my quiet apartment looking at the evidence of the evening empty wine glasses, flower petals on the coffee table, someone's forgotten scarf. Evidence of a life being lived, not just survived. My phone buzzed. For a moment, my heart clenched. Old habits die hard. But it was just Marcus. "Thanks for tonight. Proud of you, cuz." I was about to put the phone away when I noticed an email notification. The sender made me pause. "Sophia. Subject: Please read." My finger hovered over the delete button. The legal agreement said no contact and I could report this. Should report this. But curiosity won. "Elena, I know I'm not supposed to contact you. I know you'll probably delete this without reading." I would. "I'm writing because my therapist says I need to acknowledge what I did even if you never see it. Especially if you never see it. I was cruel. I was selfish. I spent years taking from you, and then I punished you for giving." That scream at the party, it wasn't really about you. It was about me, and how your presence reminded me of everything I'd taken, everything I owed, everything I could never pay back. Mom's living with Aunt Patricia now. The house got foreclosed. I'm working 2 jobs and living in a studio. And you know what? It's the first honest living I've done in my life. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I just wanted you to know that I finally understand what you gave up for us. And what we gave up for nothing. I hope you're happy. I mean that. Sophia. I read it twice, then moved it to a folder labeled, Maybe Someday. Maybe someday I'd respond. Maybe someday I'd be ready to consider forgiveness. Or maybe not. The beautiful thing was I didn't have to decide tonight. I made myself a cup of tea and stepped out onto my small balcony. The city spread out below, lights twinkling like earthbound stars. Somewhere out there my mother was learning to live without a safety net. Somewhere Sophia was learning to stand on her own feet. And somewhere, a girl who looked like me from a year ago was probably driving through a storm to prove she was worthy of love. I hoped she'd figure out faster than I did that the only person she needed to prove anything to was herself. My phone rang, an unknown number. Old me would have answered, worried it was an emergency, worried someone needed something. New me let it go to voicemail. Because here's what I learned. Every time you say yes to someone who treats you badly, you say no to someone who might treat you well. Every dollar you give to people who don't value you is a dollar you can't spend on your own dreams. Every hour you spend driving through storms for people who wouldn't cross the street for you is an hour you can't get back. The cake I'd brought to that party had been beautiful, made with love, delivered with hope. But the life I was building now, that was the real masterpiece. And this time I was both the baker and the guest of honor at my own celebration. The phone rang again. Same unknown number. This time I blocked it and smiled. Not out of cruelty, but out of clarity. Some storms you drive through. Others you simply let pass. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is refuse to be the one who always shows up when no one else will. Because showing up for yourself, that's the drive that matters most. Have you ever driven through your own storm to reach people who weren't waiting for you on the other side? Have you ever been screamed at for the crime of caring too much? Sometimes the loudest message comes from the silence that follows when you finally stop showing up. Share your story in the comments below. Every voice matters here. And if this story resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Your journey to freedom might be just one decision away.